Well, in the last session, we have discussed about the list of access specifiers and access modifiers. We can apply on class, variable, constructor, and method. Do you remember the last video? In that, I've drawn two tables. In one table, I've shown which access specifier we can apply on class, variable, constructor, and method. To class, we cannot apply private. To class, we can apply default access specifier. To class, we cannot apply protected. To class, we can apply public. And to class, only default and public access specifiers can be applied. And coming to the variable, private, default, protected, public, all four access specifiers can be applied to variables. Third, constructors. To constructors also we can apply private, default, protected, public access specifiers. Coming to the method, to method also all the four, private, default, protected, public access specifiers can be applied. So all access specifiers can be applied on all variable constructed methods except to class. To class only default and public are allowed. That is about access specifiers. Coming to the access modifiers. To class, abstract and final. We are having so many access modifiers. Abstract, final, static, transient, volatile, native, synchronized. Native synchronized belong to method. Transient volatile variable, transient and volatile belong to variables. The leftover are abstract, final, and static. So coming to the class can be abstract and final. Coming to the variable, final and static can be applied. Abstract cannot be applied, final and static can be applied. Transient volatile are also applied on variables only. Anyway, in the next slides we'll discuss about that. Okay, we'll apply transient and volatile and variables. And coming to the constructors. To constructors we cannot apply any access modifier. That is very clear. And the last one is method. To method we can apply abstract, to method we can apply final, to method we can apply static. Transient volatile we cannot apply. We can apply native and synchronized methods. That is the brief introduction given about applicability of access specifiers and access modifiers on four object-oriented programming concepts: class, variable, constructor, and method. These four are called as object-oriented programming constructs. With these four, we'll construct the object-oriented programs. That's all. So now, the current topic is on consequences of applying access specifiers and access modifiers on variable, class, variable, constructor, and method. Consequences means we can apply default access specifier and class, public and class, some abstract and class, final and class. If you apply, what happens? If you apply default or public or abstract or final, what happens? And how to declare it? If you apply, what happens? What further things we need to do? So all that we will discuss in this topic. So previous topic is applicability of access specifiers and modifiers. Current topic is consequences of applying. And what are the consequences that are faced when you apply these access specifiers and modifiers on class, variable, constructor? That we will discuss in this topic. So that is what consequences of applying access specifiers and modifiers, class, variable, constructor, and method. Coming to the class, how the class is declared. So generally, whenever we write class, right from the starting program, we write class hello. We'll open and close flower basis, and here we'll write some method. Usually, main method we'll write if it is a standalone program, or if it is other than standalone program, we'll write use the different methods like some calculations, etc. stuff. So while writing class, we'll just use only one keyword, class keyword, and the class name hello or anything. So while writing class keyword is compulsory, class keyword is mandatory, class keyword, and followed by class name. Class name must always begin with a capital letter. And if class constitutes of multiple words, every starting word, every starting letter of the word must also begin with a capital letter. But because it's a single, word class hello, we just wrote class hello. So to write class declaration, only class keyword and class name are sufficient. And class can also contains access specifier prefix and access modifier prefix. But I kept access specifier and access modifier in angular brackets because as far as syntax of class declaration is concerned, both of these two are optional. And access specifier is not mandatory. Access modifier is also not mandatory. Only class keyword and class name are mandatory. We'll see in the next coming examples. And the next, usually we'll write class with only one single class name. Class name. Mostly we don't write extend from some superclass, implement from some super interfaces. We'll do rarely. Mostly we'll write a class with a class name. That's all. But if at all, if you want to do inheritance into class, then we'll use a special keyword called extends. Extends keyword followed by the superclass name. Extends superclass. And a class will extend from this class. And a class can implement from any number of super interfaces. You will be getting a doubt. What is superclass? What is abstract class? What is super interface? All about this. We'll discuss more about abstract class and interfaces more in object-oriented programming. In the object-oriented programming, we'll come to a topic called inheritance. In the inheritance, we'll see the types of inheritances and we'll see the types of classes also. Interface, abstract class, final class, inner class, anonymous class, enum. All that we'll discuss in the object-oriented programming in the inheritance topic. So, we don't discuss much about this extends from superclass and implements from super interfaces here. But this is how the overall, the class declaration is constructed. So access specifier comes first, access modifier comes next, class keyword comes next, class keyword small letter, class name comes next, fourth, class extends from one superclass, and class may implement from any number of super interfaces. This is how class declaration statement is constructed. Followed by the class will always be enclosed in flower bases. That is called as, whatever we write inside this flower bases is called as, class body. Class body. Okay. So, here few examples are given. So, here if you observe this example, this is a default access specifier class. This is a default access specifier class means the class keyword is not prefixed with any access specifier here. That is public, not default. Then nothing is specified. If you don't specify anything, it is called as default access specifier class. Because we have not written any public here, but don't write default. If you don't write anything, it is called as default access specifier. And such a class is called as default access specifier class. And we discussed about this default access specifier class and public classes in the Java programming structure topic at the very beginning. In the packages topic we discussed. If at all, if you declare any member with default access specifier, whether it may be a class or variable or constructor method, its scope will be restricted only to that particular directory or package. Logically we'll call package and physically we'll call the directory as a directory. So if you don't declare class as public, if you declare class as a default access specifier one, the class will be restricted to be accessed only within your directory. And within your directory, any class can extend from your class, any class can instantiate your class. As you already know, in how many ways a class can be used. Suppose if I give you a class called something like student, an employee, or something else, something like some class ABC. So in how many ways do you use a class? So if at all, if you want to use my class, you use my class only in two ways. One is by extending from a class and one is by instantiating my class. If you extend from my class, you may override some functions exist in my class, or you may add extra functions to my class functions. Okay, if you want to extend the functionality of my class by writing one more class, you can go for inheritance. That time we'll use extends keyword. Now, if you want to only use the methods of my class, you don't want to add any extra methods into this class. You just want to use only my class methods. Then what you'll do is you'll instantiate my class and you'll call the functions on my class. So by extending and by instantiating are the only two ways we can use this class A, that too only within the package. This is also already discussed in the Java programming structure first topic. The package is an import statement within the directory. Actually, we should call directory because there is no package declaration. Within the directory or package declaration. This is default access specifier class. And coming to the next one is, what about this class? This is an abstract class. Abstract access modifier, class keyword, and then followed by class name. Followed by class name. Access modifier, class keyword, class name. This is an abstract class. Default access specifier abstract class. Default access specifier abstract class. That means this class A can be accessed only within the directory. That is the first point, because there is no public prefix here. So this is a default access specifier. They don't write default. If no access specifier is mentioned, it is default access specifier. So the class will be restricted only within the directory or package. And second one is, because the class is prefixed with abstract. Abstract, if you prefix any class or method with abstract access modifier prefix, it gives a special meaning. Then see, you're going to use my class. When you're using my class as a provider of a class, as a provider of the class or as an author of the class, my responsibility is to convey how you can use my class. That I have to tell the declaration of the class, variable, constructor, and method syntaxes. The syntax is such important. When somebody is using our class or variable or constructor method, they'll read the statement. Only by just reading the declaration statement, they'll understand in what way I can make use of this class, variable, or constructor method. If class is prefixed with abstract keyword, then the user will immediately come to know that, okay, I cannot instantiate this class. Then what I can do? I can do only inheritance. And I can extend only from class A, and I can write class B extends class A. I can override some functions of class A in class B, or I may add some extra methods in class B. Class B can be instantiated and used, but abstract class A cannot be instantiated. You can't write A is equal to new EF like that. This is not possible. I'm sorry. Yeah, right. But you can write class B extends class A, like that you can write. Under this class A, by prefixing with abstract access modifier prefix, we are telling that this class is not fully implemented, abstractly implemented, not completely implemented, incompletely implemented. So when a class is telling that I'm incompletely implemented, don't instantiate it, because if you're trying to instantiate abstract class, what happens? The consequences, if somebody is going to invoke one method of the abstract class with the help of object, and unfortunately by the time, if that method is not an implemented method, what output do you give to the user? What output do you give to the user? So that is why, we prefix with abstract keyword. By reading this abstract keyword, the end user will come to know, I should not instantiate this class. So I must only inherit from this class and add some extra methods into that class. And this class A and B class methods together can be accessed with a client ultimately. The access modifier abstract will access modifier will give such an important meaning. Okay. So this is here we used only access modifier and class keyword and class name. In the previous one, only class keyword and class name. The next coming one is, how about this class? Class A, prefixed with one access specifier and one modifier. Class A is a public and final class. It's a public class, it's a final class. It's an access specifier, it's an access modifier, it's a class keyword, it's a class name. Okay, the complete syntax is written. Written as example here. Extends from superclass and implements from super interfaces. All are shown in this example. Public final class A extends ABC, extend from only one superclass, implements from two interfaces XYZ and MNO. So this above syntax is completely shown as an example here. So how class can be declared. The next, and here also, because of we declared it as public, it has a meaning. Because we declared class as final, it has a meaning. Because the class is extended from ABC, it will have some meaning. The class is implemented from some interfaces, it has a meaning. So as a student, student should understand and visualize how the class can be used more than rather, using of the class while learning. So because of public, so this class can be accessed outside the package. That is what public, the meaning is. This class, public class, can be accessed within the directory and outside the directory also. And technically speaking, within the package and outside the package also. And because the class is declared as final, final classes cannot be inherited. Quite opposite to abstract. Abstract class cannot be instantiated, it can be only inherited. Final class cannot be inherited, it can be only instantiated. Quite opposite. Abstract class and final class both are quite opposite. Abstract class cannot be instantiated, it can be only inherited. No instantiation, only inheritance. Here, no inheritance, only instantiation. Like that. So this class can be only instantiated and used, but cannot be inherited. But actually, this is not the right example. So many controversies comes here if people see this kind of syntax of the example, because I declared class as final. And there's no controversy here. Of course, the class is declared as final. That means the class cannot be inherited. It can be only instantiated and used. What can be used by instantiating class A? The methods written in class A can be accessed. The methods coming from ABC superclass. Superclass ABC, all methods are available to A. Those methods are accessible here. Plus, because A class is inherited from two interfaces. As I discussed, interfaces we'll discuss in the inheritance topic and types of classes topic, which is an inheritance topic in object-oriented programming topic. There we'll discuss more about interfaces. Because if a class implements from any interface, one or more than one interface, the developer must immediately observe what are the abstract methods given in XYZ interface and MNO interface. This class A must be responsible to implement all the given abstract methods of XYZ and MNO in class A. If class A do not implement the methods of XYZ and MNO here, then this class A would be declared as abstract. You know that? This class will be declared as abstract. If you don't implement superclass methods in subclass, such classes are forced by the compiler to be declared as abstract. So that is what the developer will feel responsibility of implementing all the methods of XYZ and MNO in A. So the developer writes this class A, but the user who is instantiating this class A can access all the methods of class A, can access the methods of ABC, can access all the methods coming from XYZ and MNO interfaces and implemented in class A. That all can be accessed by end user. And this much of concept is involved in this syntax. And coming to the last one, it is not a public access specifier class. It's a default access specifier class. Default access specifier class. No public is given here, and no abstract. It's neither an abstract class nor a public class. It's a normal class. So if class is not prefixed with abstract or final, then the end user can understand that this class can be both inherited and as well as instantiated. This class can be inherited and as well as instantiated. If a class is inherited if a class is abstract class, then it cannot be instantiated. If class is final, it cannot be inherited. If class is not public or abstract here, so it can be both inherited and instantiated. But one thing, because the class is prefixed with the default access specifier but not public, this class can be still used only within the package or within the directory, but not outside the directory. So, student must observe and try to understand how to make use of the class only by just seeing the declaration statement of the class itself. So in this class, single class declaration itself, it contains a lot of meaning. Access specifier gives one meaning, access modifier gives one meaning, the next class inheriting from superclass gives some meaning, class implementing from super interface gives some meaning. In this case, the developer who is writing this hello class must feel responsibility to implement all the methods, all the abstract methods, because interfaces contains only abstract methods. All the abstract methods of A, B, and C. If class hello do not implement methods of A or B or C, then hello class will become an abstract class. So that is how the end user must understand how to make use of this class. Under this class hello now contains the methods of hello class, the methods of superclass hi, the methods coming from ABC interfaces and implemented in hello class are all will be accessed here. Okay. Coming to this is about class declaration syntax. And such a class can be both public, can be either public or default, can be abstract or final. And here one more important point. When you're writing a class declaration, a class may extend from superclass. A class may extend from superclass. In Java, a class can extend from only one superclass at a time. And here I'm writing some important points to remember. When our context comes, you write some important points here like this and discuss them. Okay. So in Java, a class can extend from only one single superclass. Because why? Because Java supports only multi-level inheritance but not multiple inheritance. This is called as inheriting from only one single superclass is called as multi-level inheritance. Multiple inheritance means extending from more than one superclass. Extending from only one single superclass means multi-level inheritance. And in Java, a class can implement from any number of super interfaces. In Java, a class can implement from any number of super interfaces. As we discussed before, interfaces we'll discuss in the next topic. This class declaration syntax. Coming to this side. I'll make it a little bit fast because as we already discussed about this. So how many access specifiers altogether exist? Private, default, protected, and public. Isn't it? Private, default, protected, and public. Out of these many 4 access specifiers, which access specifiers are applicable on class? Is private can be applied on class? No. Because why? Because private is an access specifier that can be applied only on the members of the class but not on the class. Who are the class members? Variable is a class member. Constructor is a class member. Method is a class member. But class itself is not a class member, right? Class is something like class is a container of variable constructor method. So Class members can be declared as private, but class should not be declared as private. So, what does it mean by private? Any member declared in a class, any member in a class is declared as a private. Its access scope can be only within the class. Suppose if you in a class, if you declare one variable as private, or one constructor as a private, or one method as a private, then what happens is that variable or that constructor or that method can be restricted to be accessed only within that class. And outside the class, we cannot access that member, private member. So there is a meaning in declaring class members as final, but there is no meaning in declaring class itself as a private. So don't declare classes as private. Okay. Second access specifier default. Yes. If you write class hello without any access specifier like public, if you don't write any public or anything, by default it is a default access specifier class. Default access specifier class can be accessed only within the directory or package, but cannot be accessible outside the directory or package. The outside our directory or outside the package. Default access specifier classes can be accessible only within the directory or through though packages declared are only within the directory. Only within the directory. Here you see the example. What type of access specifier this class having? Default access specifier. And there is no access specifier. So up to what extent this class can be accessed? This class can be accessed only within the directory. See, here you declared class A, but the class is having package declaration. This combination, I don't say we cannot declare such type of combination, but it is a wrong combination of declaration. So when are you going to declare package declaration in a class? We'll declare package declaration in a class if and if class is public. Public classes which are intended to be accessed both within the directory and outside the directory. Such classes are declared as public. And to such classes, if package declaration exists, the combination of declaring classes public and the package declaration, the combination of these two can make only this class A can be accessible within and outside the directory. So, though you declare package and if you don't declare class as public, if you declare it as a default access, this class can be accessed only within the directory. Second one is public class B. Class is public, but there is no package declaration here. A class declared as public without package declaration. A default access specifier class with package declaration. Both are having same meaning. They can be accessible only within the directory. They cannot be accessed outside the directory. That point is very clear. That is about default. And see, class A, that would be fine. Otherwise, declare package, public class, that would be fine. Package, public class, some class name. The class is intended to be accessed both within and outside the directory. Otherwise, no package declaration, just class A. The class A can be used within the directory, inherited or instantiated. That's it. So that is how the default access specifier is. And then next coming to the protected. Same as private, coming to the protected access specifier also. A protected must be only applied on class members but not on the class. That is what the first point I've written, I think. Protected members can be accessible up to subclasses outside the package, but class cannot be declared as protected. What can be declared as protected? A class variable, constructor, method can be declared. And the class members can be declared as protected, but class should not be declared as protected. Why? Because protected meaning means in a class, if any variable or constructor or method is given or declared as protected, such variable, constructed, method can be used both in inherited classes and instantiated classes within the directory, and only up to subclass outside the directory, but not to the instantiate class outside the directory. Okay? You inherit this class, you instantiate this class. The private members of this class can be accessible. And to the same class, you write one subclass and one instantiate class. So this protected member can go up to this level and up to third level. And within the directory inheritance class, within the directory instantiation class, inherited class outside the directory. And a protected member can be accessible only up to a subclass outside the package, but not to the instantiated class. So if you declare the members of classes protected, they're having 1, 2, 3 scopes. Inherited classes within the package, instantiated class within the package, inherited classes outside the package. They can be accessible only up to here, but not into instantiated class outside the directory. That is the meaning of protected. So declare class members as protected, but not class as protected. Class members can be declared as protected. And coming to the last access specifier is public. Coming to the last access specifier is public. So if you declare class as public, this type of class declaration is having a complete scope, full scope of the class. So if class is declared as public, what does it mean? That means the class is intended to be accessed both within the directory and outside the directory, or within the package and outside the package. Such classes are declared as public. But along with public, the class must also be prefixed with, must also be begin with a package declaration. Package declaration and public combination is a good combination, is a correct combination. Such a class can have 4 scopes. Can be accessed in the inherited classes within the directory, instantiate class within the directory, subclass outside the directory, and instantiate class outside the directory. And public class can be accessible both within the directory and outside the directory. Anyone can inherit, anyone can instantiate outside the directory. Anyone can inherit, anyone can instantiate within the directory. If class is public, provided that too if the class is having a package declaration at the beginning. If you do that, package declaration and public, you write both of the two to class and make use of the class however you want within the 4 scopes. So that is about access specifiers on class. Accessible means the important points I'm writing here. Accessible means inheritance or instantiation, deriving from the class or creating object of the class. Extends or object creation. Accessing means coming to the access modifier with an example. Abstract access modifier with an example. And the next final access modifier class. And what up to what extent we can make use of interest, that was explained here. Some final class examples, some rules to follow to declare, some reasons influence to declare classes final, that is also given here. Non-final class containing final methods, non-final class example. Coming to the access modifier abstract. Class declared as abstract. Tell me, what is the meaning of declaring class as abstract? Abstract means unimplemented or not implemented or not completely implemented. Which classes are declared as abstract, as unimplemented or not implemented or incomplete classes? So generally whenever we write a class, we'll write all the methods, we'll write implementation to all the methods. Whenever we write methods in a class, we'll write implementation to all the methods in a class. We'll implement all the methods of a class. You write 1 method or 10 methods or 20 methods or 100 methods. Now you write a method in a class, we'll implement all the methods in that class. But sometimes, in some cases, the object orientation design will influence us to declare some classes as abstract. One of the main context is suppose if you declare any method in a class. Suppose if you declare one method if you declare one method in a class, and if you don't implement that method, and if you just only declare the method and leave it without writing implementation, without writing body to the method, if you just only write the method declaration and if you don't implement the method, such methods are called as incomplete methods, also called as abstract methods. So unimplemented methods written in a class are called as abstract methods. A class which contains such abstract methods also becomes an abstract class. The class may have 100 methods, but out of 100, if one method is unimplemented and 99 methods are implemented, that one single unimplemented method itself can influence to declare class as an abstract. And if class contains abstract method, declare class as abstract. But it is very, very important to the students or the developers who are coming from the CPP and from other object orientation backgrounds. Some languages says the abstract class must have an abstract method. But in Java, it is not mandatory. Sometimes, without having abstract methods also, the class will be declared as abstract. Sometimes, without having abstract method, that means all methods in class are implemented methods. Even then, sometimes the class will be declared as abstract. It is not mandatory that abstract class must contain abstract methods. No. Without abstract methods also, with all implemented methods also, a class can be declared as abstract. Classes which do not want to be instantiated are also declared as abstract. That is what. Then, if you see, before we analyze, we design, we implement object-oriented programming, we should analyze more of how others analyzed, design, and implemented object-oriented systems. From that, we can learn a lot. The best help for the developers to understand object orientation more is referring more of API, application programming interface, and a help on classes. HTML help is available in all the classes. That is what we call as API documentation. You read API documentation. Some classes in Java, they contain their all methods are implemented. But whenever you see the class declaration, you find the class declared as abstract. Then, if you read the description of the class, from the description you will come to understand that the class explains like this. So, my intention of the class tells like this. The intention of me is I want to provide a common method implementations. I want to provide a common method implementations to so many subclasses. Those classes and their methods can be directly accessed by the end user, but people should not directly call me. And it's something like a blueprint. See, before we are constructing a building, we'll prepare a blueprint. Based on, and for that blueprint, we'll take the permission from the municipal corporation, and based on the print, we'll build the building. So the actual building is a building. Blueprint is how the building looks like is represented in the blueprint with all the dimensions, north, east, southwest direction. This much space is left. This much space is the construction area. This much is the square feet of the each flat is, plot is. Like that entire thing will be written in this blueprint. Such a blueprint approval we'll get from the government department, and then we'll start the construction. So building is actual constructed one. The blueprint is a copy of how the building looks like. That copy is this blueprint. Similarly, how the remaining classes should exist and how the remaining classes must be, available or visible to the others. To those classes, the required method implementations are provided by one superclass that is called a the abstract superclass. Under the intention of abstract superclasses, it says, I'll provide common method implementation to all these classes, but I do not want to be instantiated. I'll act like only a superclass. I'll act like only a superclass. I do not want to be instantiated by and accessing my methods directly by the clients. Sometimes a class feels like that. Such classes are also declared as abstract. Do not want to participate in direct method invocation. Such classes are declared as abstract. You can read this. Abstract class, and that is how about, and if the class contains abstract method, declare class as abstract class. Sometimes without having abstract methods also, if class do not want to be instantiated, even then also the class will be declared as abstract. 2 points. After completion of these 2 points, suppose whenever the abstract class is given, as a developer, what you will do is, your immediate job is, you should write a subclass to the abstract class. You should write a subclass to the abstract class. In the subclass, you must implement all its methods. In the subclass, you must implement all its methods and all its abstract methods. A subclass must feel responsibility to implement all the abstract methods coming from the abstract superclass. If you don't implement the abstract class the superclass abstract methods in your class also will be declared as abstract. Think there. Then abstract classes cannot be instantiated. Abstract classes can be only inherited. Then whenever abstract class is given, as a developer, what we should think is, we should think of writing one subclass, go and observe in the abstract class. If any abstract methods are given, immediately implement them in subclass. That is your duty. But as a user, if you want to use this abstract class, better don't use the class, because the class cannot be instantiated. And developers only who want to extend the functionality of the abstract superclass only should come to abstract class. Direct end users should not come to access abstract super classes. We'll discuss more about abstract classes once again in the object-oriented programming, in abstract class, in the interfaces topic. In other topics also, we'll discuss about abstract classes once again. And here are few examples given. These examples we'll discuss in the next video. Thank you. Thank you for all.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.